Welcome to episode 16 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak life, encouragement, and truth into the minds and hearts of educators and get you energized for the week ahead. Today, I'm going to share some thoughts on classroom clutter, how to decide what to hang on to and what to throw away. You can visit truthforteachers.com to get the transcript, links to recommended resources, and to share your thoughts on the show. Thank you, GoNoodle, for sponsoring this episode. GoNoodle is a free website with interactive videos and games to help kids focus during the school day. I love GoNoodle because it makes it super easy for teachers to find the energizing or the calming breaks that students need to stay engaged. Teachers can sign up for free at gonoodle.com. So today is the first episode of the new Ask Angela Anything format that I'm going to try out. The question that I'm answering today comes from Emily, who went to truthforteachers.com and filled out the anonymous Google form there to ask the following question. She wrote, "Angela, my classroom is overflowing with stuff. I never want to get rid of anything because I'm afraid I'll need it one day. How do I know what to keep and what to throw away?" So Emily is far from the only teacher dealing with this issue. Many of us, by nature, tend to be, hoarders. We hold on to everything, just in case. We develop this mindset of scarcity because we never know what we're going to have from one minute to the next. We never know if the school is going to cut the budget for pencils or paper, or if materials are going to come up missing or get destroyed. And many of us as teachers are very creative people. We see something that looks like junk to someone else, but to us, there's just all these possibilities for ways that it could be used into the classroom. So I'll tell you my story. Personally, I didn't struggle with classroom clutter as much as classroom hoarding. I remember as a first-year teacher, I used to eat frozen meals for my lunch a lot. They were something that I just didn't have to think about. I didn't have to really pack the night before. They were ready in 2 minutes. I could eat them in another 3 minutes. It was perfect. I mean, sure, they taste pretty disgusting, but whatever. I remember scrubbing out those little plastic containers each time and taking them home to run through the dishwasher because I felt guilty throwing them away. I thought, I can use these for center materials. I don't have to go to the dollar store and buy containers. I can use them to hold math manipulatives. I can use them to hold office supplies. These are perfectly good containers. I can't throw them out. And I was eating those meals pretty much every day. I mean, there was certainly no shortage of them. And yet I felt compelled to hang on to them. There were stacks of them in the cabinet under the classroom sink and stacks of all these other things that I was keeping in all the other cabinets. When I changed grade levels, I had to transfer schools. And that's when I started realizing just how much stuff I had accumulated with this just-in-case mentality. So I stopped saving the plastic containers, and I got rid of a lot of things. But I just still held on to way too much stuff. It wasn't until my 6th year of teaching when I moved from Washington, D.C. to Miami. And suddenly, I couldn't just U-Haul things over from one school to another. I had to pay movers by the pound to bring things from my old classroom to my new classroom. And I really had to take a good look at my habits. And I was slightly horrified to realize how much stuff I had accumulated. I had bookshelves, furniture, board games that I wasn't even using, but could possibly adapt for educational purposes one day. Hundreds of children's books, countless papers. I mean, the list just went on. And it absolutely killed me, but I had to leave behind my beautiful vintage 50s mod couch that my grandmother had given to me. But I had to. I just could not keep dragging all this stuff around to different schools. It hurt, but I knew my new classroom was going to be a lot smaller, and I really needed to pare down. And it's not like it was going in the garbage. I mean, that's the thing when we're getting rid of stuff in schools. These are things that are going to continue to be used by kids who need it if you give it to other teachers. The teacher who took over my classroom, she was thrilled. I took maybe about 50% of the stuff out of the room, and she still had more than enough books and supplies and furniture. I mean, that alone kind of tells you how much stuff I had, right? So that was my situation, but it got even more painful for me. I was transferring in October to a school that was overcrowded, and there was a new building that was under construction. And it was supposed to be ready months before I was hired. But you know how that goes. Budget cutbacks, construction delays. And when I started teaching, my room wasn't ready. And so I had to share a classroom with another teacher. And it was me and my 27 kids and her 26 kids all in one classroom. And she was there first from August. So she already had dibs on all the cabinet space. She'd already settled kids into the routines with her materials. So in addition to having just parted with at least 50% of my stuff, most of the remaining stuff had to go into storage at the school because there was just no place in the classroom. And I had to figure out what was absolutely essential to my teaching and stop depending on all those other materials that I had just collected over the years just in case. And it was that year when I realized how little I really needed in order to teach well. It was a game changer for me. I learned to shift my approach from, can I possibly use this someday, to how likely is it that I will need this one day in order to teach well? And if I really need this one day, will I be able to get it or something similar again? That shift in questioning from can I possibly use it to how likely is it that I will need it and can I get it again? That shift helped me let go of this compulsive need to hang on to everything. So my advice to you, if you feel like you are drowning in teaching materials, is to start today with being more careful about what you allow to come into your classroom. Getting rid of stuff can be tough and an overwhelming process, and you might not be ready for that today, but you can start being more selective with what you bring into the classroom. A great place to start is by not keeping multiple copies of every paper you have. I used to keep at least 2 copies of the stuff I really loved, just in case I lost one, or I used it by accident, or maybe the photocopier chewed it up. But you only need 1 paper copy, if that, because now we have the ability to keep digital copies of everything. I used to keep examples of student work as benchmarks and exemplars for future classes, but then one day I just said, enough, I'm going to scan them or take pictures of them and then throw all the hard copies away. And that was a huge amount of stuff right there. You can use free tools like Dropbox and Google Docs to organize your digital copies. I mean, obviously you can't just take photos and scan everything and keep all these PDFs and just throw them in one folder, or else that's going to be even worse than what you have right now. So organize them in folders. And if you're using Dropbox or Google Docs, they're synced automatically to the cloud. So if your computer crashes, you don't lose anything. And you can access all your documents from any device anywhere in the world. I got rid of so many papers once I got hooked on Dropbox. I started keeping digital folders for each teaching unit. I still had a physical folder, but I was able to keep a lot fewer papers in them. Just the stuff that I knew for sure I wanted to photocopy the following year. And then all the maybe stuff I kept only in digital form. Now the same thing goes for all your forms that come from your administrator or data collection sheets, those type of things. You can also keep those digitally. If you have a memo from your principal and it's in your email, you don't need a paper copy to. If you need to find it one day, it's going to be a lot easier to use the search function in your email than it is to dig through a file cabinet. So starting today, take another step forward toward going paperless. And be very selective about how many paper copies you keep and what items you allow to come into your classroom and stay. Now, when it comes to cleaning out what you already have, there are 2 approaches that you can take. One is to do a little bit at a time, maybe stay after school for 30 minutes a day and just tackle it slowly. Another approach is to come in the week before or after school ends or over a holiday break and just work yourself to the bone for a couple days and get it done. That's the approach that I prefer personally. Just dedicate one day to cleaning and organizing, and then all you have to do after that is just maintain it. If you don't know where to start, I have a free PDF. It's called Avoiding the Paper Trap, which is a 7-step system for organizing everything in your classroom. No matter what containers you have, no matter what forms you have, I'll show you step by step in this PDF with photos how to do it. So if you visit truthforteachers.com, you'll see in the right-hand sidebar where to enter your email address and have it sent to you. And if you want more information on how to organize your other teaching materials, like your lesson materials and all the kit supplies, I've written extensively about that in various places on my website and also in my book, The Cornerstone, Classroom Management that Makes Teaching More Effective, Efficient, and Enjoyable. So in The Cornerstone, I share how to set up your classroom, how to do a good spring cleaning, even how to start from scratch if you have a completely empty room that you just moved into. So if you don't know what to throw away and what to keep, I've covered all that in detail in the book. Just keep in mind that cleaning is not the larger battle here. The most important aspect is not accumulating more things. I know many teachers who have spent hours and hours cleaning out and organizing their classrooms, and then 2 months later, the rooms look exactly like they did before. If you keep accumulating new things, the problem is just going to keep reoccurring. When you're tempted to keep something, remember that you can probably buy it, borrow it, or do without it later. And that last option, to do without it, often ends up being the best one. Start paying attention to what materials you use most in your classroom and rely only on those. Chances are you actually need very few things in order to do an amazing job with your students. I mean, great teachers know how to make do, and you're a great teacher. Trust your ability to think on your feet and improvise and innovate. It's not your stuff that makes you amazing, it's you. So come on over to truthforteachers.com. Let me know in the comments what your struggles are with clutter and classroom organization right now. I'd love to help. And if you have a question that you'd like me to answer here on the podcast, like Emily did, you can ask that while you're on the site. You'll see a SpeakPipe box that says Start Recording. And when you hit that button, it will record your question for me, anonymously if you want it to be. And then I can include it on a future episode of the show and record an answer for you. And if you don't want your voice on the podcast, I also have the Google form available, and you can just type your question in. So your takeaway truth for the week is from Barbara Hemphill, who said, "Clutter is nothing more than postponed decisions." Clutter is nothing more than postponed decisions. Have a great week, and start making those decisions about what belongs in your classroom and what doesn't. You can do this. And remember, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.